Hey guys, I'm Chris,
And I'm Mike.
and welcome to this week's No Limits, the Thriller Podcast. It is a Friday session, rare Friday session. So I'm going to forewarn you, Mike. I don't drink during the week. I've been trying not to drink during the week, down some pounds, but Friday I imbibe. So here we go. Here's to you. Cheers.
Cilantro. This is a great book to be drinking to.
I should have some vodka. That's what I should have. Yeah.
We need some vodka or any of those drinks when Artemis is doing her little Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy rendition with
dude.
Rich Man, Poor Man, Beggar Man, Thief. That was just a little nugget. That was a fun little nugget.
Dude, this I guess we should just say we are covering David McCloskey, who we've had on the pod.
Yep.
I re-listened to your interview with him, both of the interviews. We've had him twice, right? Seventh Floor, third book, and it is a banger. Now I will say, it takes a little bit to grow on you.
Yes.
And
yes,
sometimes we are. We're trying to cover as much books as we can. So like literally, we're trying to read a book in a week and fit it into our crazy ass lives. And so sometimes like I actually had to tone down. I normally do like 1.8. You do 3. Fucking insane.
3 speed.
I had to actually bring mine down to 1.5 just because this book, everything is important.
Yes.
And you have to catch, if you go too fast. I found myself actually, I went back and I started rereading the book at night, just like some certain chapters, just because I wanted to like actually like, slow roll it. But man,
Yeah.
dude, it doesn't touch Damascus Station, but
Yeah.
it's very good.
Yeah. I don't want
I don't know. What are your
be
thoughts?
stuck here. I'm with you. I don't want to be stuck here comparing it to Damascus Station because
That's
that
a
book
gem.
was awesome.
That is a
Yeah,
gem.
just a gem. And it's totally different. It's more international, if you will, where this one's a mole hunt within our own agency. And that one was set during a foreign civil war. It just has a very different flair. I don't see a lot of benefit to comparing it. But man, you're right. I want to go back and reread this because the opening scene when the whole team, the Bratva, is together in the office realizing they have a mole problem, and then when Proctor goes off and individually is talking to all of her friends and surprising them, knock, knock, showing up, those conversations, I bet, just sound a little different if you know the game and you know
Right.
who's playing and pulling the strings, who's playing the game. So yeah, that would be fun to go back to. But we really should say, for anybody who doesn't know who we are on the Thriller Podcast, we are spoiling the book.
Yeah.
So this is the After Hours book club style podcast. So you need to read the book first. We'll give major spoiler warning here. If you don't know, we spoil everything about the plot, everything about the ending. This one is explosive, towards the end.
Like if you have not read this book,
Don't
I
listen to
highly
this.
Pause.
Yes.
Right now.
Completely.
And literally go read this book.
Get
Because
the
this
book.
is like, it is going to be you're going to love it. It's a page turner. Get the book, listen to it. I actually didn't mind, like, the narrator grew on me. Like, I kind of like the guy from the first two, like, throughout.
Yeah, but we've heard this lady before. It sounded just like the one from Connor Sullivan, especially when she was doing the Russian. Her Russian voices, I was like,
are very
we
good.
have heard that before. I want to get her name just so we could shout her out. But I agree with you. A few things in the book and a few things with the narration took me a minute to get into. Almost had a few hang-ups, but they were quickly dispelled when this plot got ripping. Particularly when Sam and Proctor are in full team-up mode.
Right.
It happens.
Right.
It doesn't happen in the beginning. You have to get there, and I see why we have to get there. But when they're in full team-up mode, bang, that's the stuff I want. And those are the characters from Damascus Station, the friendship, the relationship, the spycraft, the mole hunting, like going all off reservation. They can't do any of this within the CIA. I absolutely love it. And that's when the book just came alive. But that was Sharon Friedman, the narrator. Okay. Yeah, very well done. Let's go back in her history. Looks like a lot of different stuff. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Sleeping Bear? Hillary Huber was Sleeping Bear.
Oh, I knew it was a girl for a Sleeping Bear. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe all right. I'm mixing them up, but they sounded very similar.
No,
they're both really good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
she's on Chicago Med. She's like it doesn't surprise me. A lot of these
Sharon Friedman.
Yeah,
she was good. She really got going, and her proctor is just phenomenal.
Yeah, like I liked her proctor a lot.
Yeah,
and once we were like with Proctor, and I think like this book, and again we already said spoilers, but like I think McCloskey likes Proctor
very much
as the main character, and I think that she hopefully going forward is going to. I don't know. That's a question we have to talk about at the very end. Is this sort of the a trilogy, a 3-book trilogy with these characters?
Yeah.
Because if you think about the first one, it's really a Samuel Joseph.
It's
story.
more a Sam Joseph story. Yeah.
But she's like a major secondary character. I liken her to like like a Scott Coleman, like or Irene,
But Sam drives the plot.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But Proctor's there, and then Moscow X.
Proctor.
I just started listening to Moscow X. You already listened to Moscow X. You talked to David about it.
Yep.
She is again, a main character in that.
Yep.
I would say like at least like I'm only like a third of the book. She definitely is not like she is here, where she is front and center. And
this is her book.
We are in her head.
Yeah.
Like you said, the first third of this book, Sam gets taken. There's, turmoil with this turnover on the 7th floor. I like this political intrigue and then immediately, I don't know if you felt this, but immediately I bought in, and again, it's on me. Like I didn't do my backstory, but have we seen Gus, Theo, Mac before?
I don't think so. Did you buy into them when their first meeting on the 7th floor, when Petra is brought in and Petra floats this theory that there's a mole? You bought into all them as a team up at that point?
No.
Me neither.
But it was laying the groundwork.
Yeah, and they grew.
For when it grew, and then ultimately, I think it culminates with when Proctor tells that story about Afghanistan.
Yes.
And especially like big. The narrator kills that. And I think like David was building the groundwork towards that to have us buy in and to make how like gut wrenching in the end, this betrayal by a friend is.
Yeah.
And like you said, I love, and I really want to go back. I think like the best part of the book on reread is going to be when Proctor is doing all of her visits and trying to get the stories lined up. Cause then you can pick out some of these little nuances and see if, spoiler alert, could you tell that Mac was the one?
Could you tell it was Mac? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they each had their own little, like you said, nuances and these bizarre oddities. And she's realizing who said in what order they arrived at the meeting, with Remora.
Yeah.
And in all their retellings, there's like these slight differences. And in some cases, it's not an outright lie. It's just an omission of some of the truth. And she's got to piece together, why did this person leave out that piece? Does that make it suspicious? Or was it just an oversight, no big deal? And I guess that's why you need someone like an Artemis who's tuned in to pick up on every little one of those. Like sometimes the main character in a lot of the thrillers we read, their main quality is that you can shoot them up, but they're these super weapons, like it's all about the physicality. With Proctor, it's just, she has this unique ability to sense things, to read people, and it's all because she's just a loose cannon. I mean, another crazy thing we learned about her, the backstory with Afghanistan is awesome. When the narrator is doing her voice and she's cracking and even sheds a tear at the end of that, and she's coming clean to Sam, it's just building their relationship for her to open up like this. The depth of her is incredible, but then also the Gator world is equally as entertaining because it's so Proctor. When she gets fired, she goes to the family business, some cousin who runs a Gator theme park in Florida. Dude, that is a brilliant move by McCloskey because it's the most Proctor thing ever. It's the most Proctor thing ever to have her wrestling gators when she gets kicked out of the CIA in a dumpster, in a trailer, drinking all the time.
I'd have to say, I think she is probably the most interesting character
Yes,
I have ever read.
I agree.
And McCloskey fully vets her out. She stays in character in all 3 books.
Yes.
And nothing surprises me.
Yep.
And nothing is it's never too outrageous because he's built that character so well.
Yep.
Yeah, and she's a drunk, she's a lush, she's a chain smoker.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, in my mind, again, not remembering her physical details from Damascus Station, but until the very end when they mentioned that she's short, in my mind I thought she was tall. But this little short lady,
Yep.
But they always
Curly
mention her
black
hair
Yep.
is looked like in Moscow X in the very beginning, they say it looks like she just put her finger into an electrical outlet. So it's just,
the curly
zap.
frizz. Yeah.
Oh,
And then carrying the Mossberg, this lady is on another level, just another dimension of storytelling.
She carries a Mossberg. She has that bat that's signed by all the Cleveland Indians of the World Series team. She also has
walking
that
out of CIA with it.
M4 rifle.
Yes.
And she knows how to use it.
Yeah.
She's a badass, but she's also a loose cannon.
She's a mental case. But that's what you need. You need those people. I agree with you. She is one of the most uniquely crafted characters in all of literature. And I think you could tell McCloskey has fun with her, just has a blast writing her. And I think I picked up on it in Damascus Station.
Yeah.
When the embassy was hit, though.
Oh, okay.
Obviously she was crazy. Her bra with the, is it the palm trees on it?
Yeah.
And it's got the stars
here.
Oh, and we get to see the tattoo being added for
She
Sam.
adds another one.
Dude, that character has so many facets. We even see her husband or her ex-husband, Tom. We have this little story of their marriage and how things were rocky. Again, it's just so Proctor that's how things went. He was like, I'm going to get a career. And she's like, I don't really care. You're my husband, but I don't care.
Because he wanted her to not work because he has money.
With him. Yeah.
But in actuality, that's not. Proctor is
he wanted to put
the bitter end.
He wanted to put Proctor on a leash or in a box, and I think every character who has ever tried to put her in a box fails miserably.
For sure.
So I think you're 100% right that Proctor is one of the most special characters I've ever read in a book.
So we gotta go there, but Sam.
Ending. Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
Yeah, that was... And then to back up a little, you were saying, what comes next? Is this the end of the Proctor and Sam story? Sam had his book. Proctor now, I feel like, has had her book. But at the same time, he left Proctor in a place where there's a lot more story to tell. She's working on some China desk. She's back in the CIA. It kind of seems a cover, and she's this legend. Or maybe you leave it at that. That's a possibility too, because I love how you end the book with some random character seeing Proctor pop up at different CIA events.
Right.
She slides, studs up into second base at the softball game. She's
it's like Debs'
side.
assistant, right?
Yeah. But we're seeing Proctor through this dude's eyes, and I love that because it's people are going to see her as just this legend. The stories are told. It's like in The Force Awakens, where Harrison Ford is like, it's true. All of it. And he's trying to tell Rey and Finn, all these legends you've heard of Luke Skywalker, it was all true. I feel like that's the Proctor character. Someone down the road, a younger CIA person can go, it's all true. I knew her, or I knew somebody who knew her. That's a pretty cool way to leave her. So could it all be over? Yes. Do I want more of her? Of course. Did Sam Joseph have to die? I think so. I think his course had run. He was broken.
Yeah. I think when you put him in that box, we got to talk about that. Is brutal captivity.
And Rem is an interesting villain. We'll get there.
We'll get there. It's crazy that you think what Scott and Mitch and what Bella have done, I feel like this is like a new level of torture that this guy, this Rem has embarked on him. And yeah, I agree. I would agree with you, right? He's broken. He pulled off this one final mission that he had to do, and he was at peace with himself. Irene is a crazy fucking bitch of a character,
dude. Yeah,
that whole. I had vibes of. Did you ever watch that show, The Following?
No.
Oh, it's about this Kevin Bacon. I don't know if it's like Fox, NBC, but it's about a cult leader.
Yeah.
And every season follows like this cult that evolves over time, even though like at the end of the first season, the cult leader goes into jail. And so those...
he's a true believer.
Oh, yeah. Like it reminded me very much of like this cult, like this true believer. And like, whereas her husband, I don't think he ever truly like wanted to be. I don't know. Like she was kind of like brainwashing him, but I don't know. What did you think about, them? I don't know. Hold on. Let's put them to side.
Back to Sam.
Let me finish my Sam thought.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I'm gutted that he died.
Right.
Because
Same.
I remember him as Damascus Station Sam.
Yeah. Right.
And I feel like, yeah, he fucked up. He slept with the asset. Kind of redeemed himself through this book. So, yeah, like the hero's journey, like, you have that redemption arc.
Yeah.
It makes sense to close his chapter there. I
agree.
Would you have been more satisfied if he just met someone, like if Mel was like a real character, like a real person, and he just like lived his life?
Or he worked it out with Natalie, his girlfriend. And then I'm wondering if she was, like an agent of some sort, being Levantine and all this. I didn't know how much further you can go with Sam. Like Damascus Station, he breaks all the rules, falls in love, with an asset. That whole thing, he's on the outs. And then he's back in CIA and he's stealing documents inside of CIA.
Yeah.
And then he gets cut from there. It's like, I don't know if he was a character who really necessitated another adventure. He's been through it all. And I don't mind him dying in this way. I think you're right, though. I want to come back to Mel for a minute and all this.
Sure. No, we can come back to her.
Because you're right in saying she was the true believer, the hardliner. It makes me think of the Americans, how Kerry Russell, she was the serious one. But meanwhile, the husband was all the time thinking, maybe these Americans are onto something. Maybe this freedom and this economy and this technology is like a nice life. And he at some points wanted to just run away with her and, have their family, live in peace and forget the Russian connection. And she like wouldn't let it go. She was willing to, at one point, almost rat him out over it. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's like I saw that same dynamic here with the woman, the husband. And then those two, almost this subplot, right, if they're the ones hired by Rem's guy. Rem has a guy who he says, take care of this. Rem even says at one point, shit, Artemis Proctor's the only one who can uncover this, who can pull on these threads and piece this together and unravel it. So he has to have this kind of side quest to take her out, and he hires these two. And they were sleeper agents. They were just living a normal married life, young people.
He worked at Southwest, and she was like some social media person.
And they had the dog.
This Joseph Stalin.
Joseph Stalin, and nobody knew that, but one time they used the name Stalin at the Fed or something. Yeah, and they're activated. So we've got sleeper agents being activated. Like, there's so much cool stuff going on here. I just think it makes a complete spy story and a mole hunt, unlike anything I've read since probably Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Like I said, like, it is up there. And David Baldacci quoted this one saying, the seventh floor is a Jean Le Carré level game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, no, it definitely reminisces of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with like more 20th century like zhuzh and like exactly. But
the modern American version of this slow burn epic British spy novel.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I was at the end when you find out that it's Gus or Mac, sorry.
Mac,
you find out that it's Mac. I was gutted because like they didn't say it until the very end, but you could kind of tell that maybe they had some sort of relationship, Artemis and him. Obviously, he saves her life in Afghanistan, shields her. The whole time I'm thinking it's Debs, but
yeah, Debs was the red
You
herring.
had to know that like, oh, that's way too obvious.
It's way too easy.
It can't be her at all.
Yeah.
So I almost had to like train my mind like it's not her at all.
I did the same.
And when you're thinking about, all right, is it Gus, Mac, or Theo? The
or
other
even Gosford,
two,
the boss.
Yeah, I did entertain that for a little bit, but ultimately I was like, that would just be like too weird of a play. Like it had to be one of these four characters that we spent like a decent amount of time with.
Yeah.
But Gus and Theo were just like, you could definitely tell that he spent less time. Like, yeah, they're friends, but like those were like the lower tier, and like it would either had to be Mac. When you look back on it, it had to either be a Mac or Debs.
Yeah, Theo and Gus, I guess you could say, are just not important enough or even clever enough. So, I mean, here's how Theo is described. Theo Monk would have risen higher inside CIA, if not for a hungry cock and a thirsty liver. McCloskey, stop. Like, come on.
Exactly. I mean, he's the reason why Mac is able to get to that thing, because they dangle a piece of ass. Pardon my French, at the bar
to make Theo late to the meeting.
Yeah,
so that Mac and Remora can meet first. And we already knew Debs came later. That was already documented. And somehow Theo either forgot that because it was such a blur, or he had to lie about it because he was with this hooker. Yeah. And so he had to lie and say, oh, we got there at the same time. And man, it's just all these little details pay off. You're right. It's a cerebral book you have to pay attention to. So even though I do 3-speed, I caught myself a few times having to slow it down to 2.5 speed and try to listen to it. And going back and rereading it would just be such a joy. So we're talking about this cast of characters. I didn't believe them at first. When we're sitting around the table at the first meeting, I don't know what it was. And I'm kind of glad McCloskey did this because it made me have to put in the work to try to understand the nature of their friendship. I was like, this is too easy. They all went to the farm together, and now they're all working on the same desk, and they all kind of have a shared history. But that was fun to unravel and figure out who knows who screwed who did what antics together, back when they were younger. And it even led to Debs having this beef with Proctor that severely hurt their relationship. And over the course of this book, everyone's relationship developed. But I would say theirs maybe the most able to see eye to eye with each other a little more. They're very different people, very different approaches to leadership and career trajectories and right and wrong. Where Debs is the sellout, she's this weak kind of person. And Proctor, you can't say anything about her as weak.
No.
But at the same time, they came to mutually respect each other just a little. And I just thought it was a little too easy in the beginning to throw all these people together, lay them out, and then have Petra come in and go, I think there's a mole. I go, I didn't need you to tell me it's a mole story in like chapter 2 or 3 by someone just announcing, I think there's a mole. And I was just like, come on, is this book going to be like too easy and simplistic? Because that conversation ended with there's a mole. But no, it was anything but simplistic.
It had me guessing till the very end.
Really did.
It
and changing my mind a lot too.
Like until we get to that final scene where she says his full name, Macintosh. Like it's like I had no idea, and I think that's the ultimate like success story with these kind of things, like having it be a page turner where like you want to know,
you need to know.
You need to know.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting to like put us in that environment, right? Where they're all immediately put together. There's a bunch of baggage with each other and we don't know any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it has to develop, McCloskey has to do the job to develop that through the book.
Yes.
And I totally agree with you. I think like, I wouldn't say that Debs and Artemis are friends at the end, but I don't think they're adversaries anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely I agree with your like that. There's mutual respect. You know, even though she even says like I knew when that she wasn't going to make it when she was just sitting there like as a coward in Afghanistan. There was this person she was a dropout from the farm because she couldn't pass the test.
Yep.
You know, this really tall. I'm guessing McCloskey didn't really like describe her as like beautiful, just like this person that was super tall, wore outrageous outfits, was just a brown noser, like just
exactly.
Rode the coattails of Gosford, who
Exactly.
fucking cuck, like shot himself in the foot and claimed that he got shot by,
Yeah, that was
the
bullshit.
enemy.
But all that also led to this intrigue of like, okay, if you saw in the Afghanistan op that those two were weak and squirrely, and now they're in charge, does that make them more suspect? That we know they're not the best of characters.
It definitely like adds to that for sure.
Yeah. So are they pulling us? I was wondering if it was a network of them. That's another thing McCloskey did well. It was a mole story, but it could have been the moles. Like the whole time I'm wondering, are they all in on it together? Is it Gosford and another? Is it Debs and another? And so even once we know it's Mac, I'm still wondering like what the hell is going to happen next. I thought there needed to be more towards the ending. One, this book hit its stride in France when they were scoping out the meat. Oh my
100%.
God, with the Banditos.
Oh yeah, we bring him back
shit.
from Moscow Station. Yeah.
That was when I couldn't stop texting you. I texted you like 20 times in a minute.
You're like, holy shit, there's an hour left. What the hell's going to happen?
The book was absolutely singing. I will say everything from Crystal City, when they first, Sam and Proctor set up the safe house and all their protocols, how they're going to have no cell phones, no internet connected devices. They're going to have the safe house.
Trunk.
Exactly. Yeah, they're keeping frozen meals in there, all the spycraft for them to set that up. Through the whole middle part of this book and up until that scene in France to have the stakeout, I couldn't stop. That middle 2/3 of the book was some of the most fun, enjoyable reading I've had in a long time. And when that stakeout happened and she's running towards the house and then she hears the gunshots and turns around and she realizes her friend is a traitor. She turns around, thinks the Banditos are dead and the van's gone, which has all their evidence, and they're stuck on foot. I think they end up walking or running, right, to
the safe house, yeah,
to get back to their safe house, just through the freaking countryside of Provence. That scene was just wild and just an absolute joyride. I don't know if the Banditos are dead. I also think that could be a little nugget for another time. Possible.
No, but at the very end, she puts the pictures down. So that there's been some times true. I guess maybe she doesn't know
if the bodies weren't found.
Yeah, true. Until you see a body, you see a body.
So somebody...
We know that Sam Joseph is dead because we have his fingertips.
We know Sam's dead. He's got the fingertips, yeah. And that had to happen that way. So basically, if the high point of the book is the France op, everything after it is like this long wind down. And even time passes. There's large chunks of time. Months and months between each of these scenes. But then you slowly get kind of the justice of Proctor cornering Mac with the shotgun, making him confess his sins, making him write it all down. And in that scene, did you understand his motivations, or did you buy into the way he seemed remorseful that Sam got killed in all this and seemed remorseful the Banditos got killed in it, but at the same time didn't really care and doesn't think it's his fault? Like, he almost felt like being a mole wasn't all that bad of a thing to do. And I think it goes to his daddy issues.
Yeah, I think it definitely, and that is something that's suspect that on reread you could really pick out, in the sense that, because it's brought up early that he wanted to be an artist. His dad worked for the CIA. He was forced to become a company man.
Never was that good at it.
Never was that great at it, but had this underlying resentment for it. And so at first chance when he got approached by Remora, he took it.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, do you think his wife's in on it? Because Proctor is
Lulu was very interesting. I couldn't
something about
put my
some
finger on
crazy
it.
threesomes and sex orgies. Like,
Yeah.
McCloskey adds some interesting details in the story that, like, definitely piques your interest, keeps you riveted. Like,
Was Proctor also sleeping with two people in that the little rundown hotel?
yeah, oh yeah.
She was having a threesome, right? At some
Yeah,
point.
because like someone knocks and
Yeah.
two
Sam.
people answer. Sam knocks and
I
like
think it was
another
Sam.
two other dudes answer. Yeah. Proctor's wild. Like, how old is Proctor?
Dude, that's a good question. I picture her as late 40s.
I think she says her class at the farm.
I picture this whole crew as in their mid 40s.
Yeah.
Think I'm wrong about that? I don't know.
No, I think that's right. Because Sam says he was the class of 2011.
And he's slightly younger than all of them.
Yeah.
Slightly. Yeah. And then Afghanistan, I guess that's a long window. We don't know when exactly they were running their op, but it seemed a little early on in the Afghan kind of conflict. Like at the height of it. Yeah, what a cast of characters. Just what a fabulous team up of people. We don't know who we can trust the whole time. And for McCloskey to be doing this level, to write the mole story, right? Like probably what's going to be your seminal mole story. You are inside the agency. You're on the seventh floor.
You can't do this again.
You can't do it again. To write that as your third book, that's ballsy.
He fucking killed it, though.
Oh, he murdered it. He knocked it out of the park. And combine it with his inside knowledge, it just takes it to another level. Like everything inside the building seems so real. There's another Tinker Tailor
soldier.
The
hot
dog station, how Moscow X gets bumped down to next to it. Yeah, of course. But I'm thinking the scene where Sam Joseph has to steal the documents.
That's a very good scene.
Cajoling like another coworker. Oh, I'll just use your station just for a little while. Meanwhile, it's right near the file cabinet that he needs. Really good scene, which reminded me of Tinker Tailor stealing documents out of that archive. A lot of fun. Just a lot of
crazy.
Fun.
That's how they figure out that it was him, because Mac had put like some sort of dye on those documents.
Yeah. And they found out it was accessed. Yeah. Wow. This book has so much going on. We didn't even talk villains. A little. We scratched the surface a little.
Do you want to get into the scorecard then?
We could get into the scorecard. I just want to Rem. He's also a somewhat sympathetic villain. And you mentioned Lulu. I don't know which side she's on. I also was trying to figure out Rem's wife. She was always trying to pull him away from work. Yeah, Manel, come away from work, take a break, step away. I thought Rem was very interestingly done because I kind of feel for him. He wanted to let Sam Joseph go. He told his wife, we're kind of going too far. I'm being extreme. Even other people were pegging him as like, you're the torturer. Like, look what you did to that American. Like, don't call us brutish, after you've done that. He's like, I don't really want that reputation. But then in a deposition, and of course, that's a McCloskeyism. Every book he has that kind of transcript kind of chapter where it's just being read out as a transcript of what was said in a meeting.
I know. I just got to that chapter in Moscow X. Yeah.
And he's being kind of sassy and like in this report, they're like, what is your ultimate goal? And he was like, to destroy CIA. And he was being kind of sassy earlier, but in the end, he just said, like, I am playing the long game. I am not going to just ask my guy, my mole, to give us intelligence, and then we act on it. We go arrest everybody. Because that was fun, too, of what made me believe Sam and Proctor could confirm there was a mole, was that there were connections between all the guys being rolled up and Remora. That Remora's intel was directly being related to those two arrests that got bungled. And Rem is like, yo, you're going to tip off the Americans if you just keep arresting all these people that are, Mac tells Remora and gives them this intel. You're going to blow Dr. B, the code name for their mole. Like, you're going to blow it if you just keep arresting these people. And I thought Rem was really trying to play the long game and was a well-crafted villain.
Yeah, and if you think that, like, him and Mac was there because Remora was recruited a long time ago. Yet, slowly leaking information and not acting until, truthfully, like, I think ultimately, like, they were trying to sow the seeds for Mac to like potentially get to the head of the 7th floor.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they would have, essentially like a, what's the one where the president is a Russian spy? Deep State.
Chris Audi. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially you would have like
Completely.
a situation like that.
All of Russia House is basically being run by a Russian mole. That'd be insane.
Exactly. But could you imagine if you had all of the CIA being run by a Russian mole? Like, that's insane.
Wild.
And to not act on that, to have the cunning to see this foresight and, propel this guy, feed him a little bit of stuff. He feeds you a little bit of stuff. You're helping him build his resume, his CV.
Yep.
But ultimately, once like stuff's about to turn on you, you have to act drastically, and that's where shit sort of hits the fan. So
even when the higher ups are demanding you get more intel, even Putin, there's a Putin meeting. Yeah. I remember in Damascus Station there was the Bashar Assad meeting. Here there's the Putin meeting. He's disinterested. He's just like, he's checking his schedule. He's wondering about budgets. He's like, who is this little guy Rem? And Rem meanwhile is running the highest mole that they have inside the CIA. And even Putin is kind of blowing him off. And Rem is just like, he's so much better than all these people give him credit for. And we get to see him questioning that with his wife of like, I'm the most dedicated among them, and they don't even see what I'm trying to do here. They're just undermining me at every step. There's even a Carla reference.
Yeah.
I think he at one point, if someone compares him to Carla or whatever, dude, Le Carré is a huge inspiration for McCloskey. He told me that before. And this book is you're reading, like you said, the modern American version of a Le Carré style British spy novel. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, there's elements of A Spy Coming from the Cold.
Yes.
There's elements of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. All the greats. I know. I really enjoyed the ending of this book. Like I truly loved this book, but I don't know why I liked. I still can't understand why I liked Damascusation better. I guess the love story aspect of it.
Yeah.
The
international intrigue.
Like the setting, even though like he does a very good job of like putting us in Langley and, I would say when we're in Provence, like, the descriptions there, the descriptions in Russia, sure. But like running those SVRs,
yes,
or SDRs,
in the throes of a civil war,
like just being there, like just immerse you in that story. That I think like that's what I like better. But this is a very different book, and still 10 out of 10 would recommend to anyone.
Yeah, oh for sure. That one does tickle my fancy just a little more, and I think it's our biases, certainly my biases. That one I felt a lot more immersed in a faraway place, like on the streets of Syria in a particular time period that's recent, that's real, that's still affecting global politics.
Right.
And we were put there in, 2011 or whatever it was. Like it just came alive. It had that vibrancy. Where here it's like the Crystal City Safe House is a lot of fun, but it's just a different scale of like being inside this like little community where Mariam lives and grows up, and they're, kind of protected, a little upper class, but then the riots are on the street right outside, and then the bombs start dropping. Like that's just on a different scale. So I don't think they could be prepared, but that book had a little more. The SDRs, you're entirely right. A few times I knew they had the spycraft when they were going around Arlington and whatnot, but we didn't spend as much time doing it. And it was kind of fun back in Damascus Station, taking 15 pages to go on an SDR, to build it, see what they do, watch the spycraft happen, where here that spycraft is kind of reduced to a sentence or a paragraph. Like, check, they did it, they're safe. Where there we really explored it. Different style of writing, different setting. I would say that one has the edge of just what I personally like in a book. But if you are just looking for a dark, gritty, domestic mole hunt, I don't know if you can do it better than this.
I think like both of our wives would love this book.
Well, yeah. Well, Damascus Station was one I recommended to Rosie's book club, and it did not go over well. They do all the
Really?
Oprah books, and they do the memoirs and the sappy stuff. So I was like, the Mariam love story, I think that might resonate with that group a little bit in terms of needing a tinge of romance in the books. And it just didn't happen. So I'm hands off with that book club. But I think you're right. They should, in theory, enjoy this one.
Well, my wife has been recently like reading all of these like Nine Perfect Strangers, and all the ones have been turned into HBO dramas, thrillers. So I actually purchased this one on Kindle because it was on sale for $7, and so she's going to read it. She said she would read it when she's done with her current.
Nice. I mean, this one, it has that personal drama because of this friend group. You can even have a little of the Casino Royale style flair with a couple of these Vegas and the Baccarat tables and meeting Golikov. What a cool cold open would that be? The meet with Sam and Golikov.
I want to see this movie,
dude. And you cut to him being taken, and he's just saying numbers out loud, counting the stars. And then that woman, dude, when he's in captivity,
dude, I was freaked out.
I was freaked out. He didn't even know if that woman was real.
Alive, dead.
Was she a ghost? Was she a specter? If we didn't get the Russians talking about putting her in there, I also might have been questioning, is Sam just fucked up in the head? Like, did that even happen?
But they had tortured him so much and put this like heroin-stricken prostitute in there,
just to climb all over him. And
they talk about like putting her tongue like in his. That was just. It was intense.
But the fact that he doesn't even know if it was real.
Right.
Oh my God. He was in a state of mind. Wild. We've seen a lot of torture scenes, like you've said, and this is just different. This one's real. It's
different.
Pretty.
It's a little different.
The other authors,
it's not
Jack
like the
Carr,
ball. It's not physical, right?
It's not physical, right?
It's very psychological. We're seeing probably what Vela would do, because like we hear about, like, Brad talks about it, and Scott talks about it, and like that whole neuroreceptor. And
this is the interrogator in the Scot Harvath series.
Yeah, sorry, I'm assuming that everyone listens to all of our podcasts. I shouldn't. Anyways, there's this one character in this other series that we cover, and he's a psych doctor, whatever, and he comes up with this like the essence of fear. And forces, if you've seen
like a hormone,
Batman Begins, like that's essentially what the Scarecrow develops, right? But yeah, we're more into that psychological, emotional torture here than like the, strap your balls up to
exactly,
some prods and have them ride the bull with a taser,
yeah.
Or waterboarding, or and any other like classical trope we've seen.
Exactly. I was going to say, Jack Carr, we always are looking for the torture scene. Like, what is James Reese going to do to some guys? But Jack Carr then upped it in one of his books. When James Reese was in solitary confinement, we almost saw this level of
that's pathos. That's akin to that.
Yeah. How it's not just, Jack Carr's always going to write this gruesome torture scene with hurting people and whatnot. But in that scene, he deliberately went to a next level by putting the main character in solitary and mentally, playing with their demons. And that's what McCloskey did here, like what it would really be like for Sam. And Sam has to bury the truth. He knows his one ticket out of there is to convince these guys, Golikov didn't say anything to me. We just talked, because
if he does,
drinks,
he's dead.
He's dead. I'm dead. If he says he told me there's a mole in CIA, he's dead.
He holds on.
All these books is always, everyone breaks. They'll torture you. Sam Joseph, he withheld. He made it.
I almost wonder if he allowed himself to go into a sense of psychosis to not break.
Yep.
If he didn't allow himself to like focus on like, become like a, someone with autism, where they're just literally counting, constantly counting the stars, like, oh, I messed up, I've started over. Like, he had to do that, because if he didn't do that, then he would have been broken.
He's a dead man.
He would have given it up.
Yep. That's why counting the stars became the number one thing occupying his mind. Wild.
Insane. Yeah.
Scores, man. This is going to be fun.
But before you do the scores, do you have a limerick for us?
It's a good way to summarize pretty much everything we've been talking about. Hunting a mole and unraveling webs. Artemis and Sam pulling on threads. Stakes the highest, spycraft the finest. Is it Gus, Mac, Theo, or Debs?
Ooh, I like that last line. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I was going to start with Gus, Mac, Theo, or Debs, hunting a mole, unraveling webs. I thought, what if we move it to the end?
Flip it, put it at the end.
Hunting a mole, unraveling webs. Artemis and Sam pulling on threads. Is it Gus, Mac, Theo, or Debs?
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, scorecard, my dude.
Action and suspense. We're clearly leaning more into the suspense side of things on this.
Some action.
Some action, yeah. The France scene, I would say the most action.
France scene, the flashback to Afghanistan.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm leaning like the way this book engaged me towards the end in terms of like page turnability and keeping the suspense and like the whodunit of it all.
Right.
Like makes me want to give it like a 9. I'm like 8.59.
Yeah.
For that.
I think you're right, because those things to me, the whodunit, the page turnability, is plot and buy-in. I'm going to go really high on those, but that would mean my action suspense comes down a bit. So I'm going to say 8 on action suspense. It was phenomenal when we got it, but the true strength of this book, I think, is developing a plot that checks out, that keeps you interested, that makes you wanting to know more, and you're bought in. I wouldn't say right from the beginning, but once, well, I guess you are when Sam gets taken. Sam and Dolokhov get taken.
So there's like this dichotomy, right, of like being bought in when Sam gets taken, but then not being fully bought into the Proctor storyline
until they meet.
Like they come together
and they're on the mole hunt. Yeah,
that was like the weirdest part of. I don't want to say it's bad. It's just like different, and maybe that's what he was going for, like this dichotomy that once these two characters come back together, then like they need each other for the story to like
they're
mesh.
on a mission. That's what I gathered. I gathered they're not really sent on the mission until they come together, and once they're sent, it was just great. So I'm going a little lower on action, but I'm going to make up for that with a 10 on plot and a 5 on buy-in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 10 and 5. All right.
I think in the end, things come together really, really well. I could have done 9 and 9 action and plot. 8 and 10, 9 and 9.
I think I'm doing 10 on plot, and I'm doing like a 4.5 on buy-in. Yeah. I'm digging it like a little bit with the Proctor stuff.
Yeah.
But
you there's something to ding somewhere. Which category you put it in doesn't really matter, because it's so close to perfect, but it's just that little thing kind of holding me back. And for me, I classified that as action. Bad guys. This is interesting. Did I like bad guys or good guys more?
So Gus, Mac and Rem were classifying as the bad guys.
The bad guys.
And
Irene and husband.
They were pretty intriguing.
They were pretty good. I think it's a 4.5.
Yeah, Rem is a very interesting character. Like someone who's so committed to the cause. Like even at the very end when he's at his retirement party,
right?
The one guy asked him like, "Yeah, I want to be on a boat. What would you do?" "I want to go to work." Like it's
a good soldier.
To have like the capability to pull. In the end, like they get caught, but to pull this off, to have that mole be at the head of Russia House for so many years, that's like
a Carla.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I think I'm going to go with you, 4.5.
Yeah, I think that's a 4.5 for me. Good guys. If we just say Sam and Proctor, that's a 5. It's a perfect 5. Gosford, Debs, Gus, Theo. I guess we got to work them into it.
I like Debs. I liked her as a character. She was like this interesting foil, this like sort of what's the phrase I'm looking for? But the red herring, like he purposely
false
put her
flag.
in there, the false flag, like to make her seem like she's the one, but clearly like she couldn't be the one.
She served that purpose, but even more of a fun purpose for her, I think, is a foil to Proctor.
Yeah, being like the complete opposite of Proctor.
Yeah, for Proctor to be up against, but also have to at some point work with. So I think that made her really interesting. I think also 4.5.
Yeah, it's not a perfect 5, but it's
Proctor's a perfect 5.
Yeah, like if you just isolate Sam and Proctor, I think like that's good. But then when you add in some of these other ancillary characters, they were good, but not what we've seen.
Yeah. Setting, same thing, close to perfect, but I just feel like there's an edge I have to take off.
Why?
Yeah. And
because
I guess
we were in rooms and back alleys.
Although, did you feel like you were inside Langley? Did you get a feel for the mundane office life of what it's like in there? Maybe.
I actually did. I think like the Langley stuff was the best, like well-written setting.
Yeah.
Because everywhere else is just, besides Gatorville, like getting the description of that was interesting. Like that's a cool, like,
Gatorville gives it an extra point here for sure.
Little like just thing to throw in there. But besides that, we're in a room in Russia but he does take us to different restaurants. We go to the White Rabbit, which we've gone to in a couple of different places.
That's true.
So
Provence stuff.
The Provence stuff was good, but I think for like the Langley alone, and because David like knows that inside and out, being there, it's really good. But I think it's a 4.5.
I think it's a 4.5 again. Cover. This is a fun one.
I love the OG cover. I love this whole series.
It's
all
clean.
3, Damascus Station, Moscow X, and 7th Floor.
It's a great theme they came up with.
Whoever they got to do their covers,
brilliant.
Like should do all covers. Like I love the digital camo. The Langley, the CIA emblem. It's perfect. It's intriguing. It's the title perfect. I don't hate the British version either.
The British, UK, Australia one, it's okay. It's definitely not as good as the original publication.
No, but it's got this, it's obviously CIA building, person walking, because I guess it must be like a stipulation that all British spy covers have to have a person walking in it.
Silhouette of a person walking. I think they have to.
And then there's like these crows with like a storm brewing. Like that's kind of interesting.
So her hair is too flat.
Yeah, the hair is too flat.
She does look short though.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
What if she had like I know obviously this is probably just like a stock.
Yeah, of course.
Person that they put into the cover.
But that's my problem. If you're going to show a Proctor, go all in and fucking show Proctor. Like shotgun, tattoos, just like all of it. Don't just give me a fucking
or if it was
silhouette.
Debs, like put her in like a crazy ass outfit.
Debs would have to be taller too.
She would have to be taller. Yeah.
The dark, ominous background. I don't want to say too much about these cover Bs, these backup covers. This one's definitely not as bad as a cover C. So
no, it's not. It's not. It doesn't go cover C.
We don't call it cover A and cover C, and it's not that bad. Longtime listeners know about cover C. I think for all this, I'm doing it again. 4.5,
4.5. Yeah.
This is just a 4.5 kind of book.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's not 4.5 or free space because it's an automatic 5. Baby.
It's a perfect 5.
All right, so you texted me and you said, I know my free space is and you're not taking it. So I'm going to let you go first.
That's Gatorland, Gator World. And she even makes that joke of like,
oh yeah,
that's our competitor.
Gator World's our competition.
Yeah, that's the competition when she's being sassy with Debs. When we see Proctor fucking wrestling Gators, I'm just, oh my God, it's such a brilliant move. Of all the other things that McCloskey is doing that are like legitimate brilliant, making a mole story, having all these layers to it, having all these threads that are getting pulled on, getting every little detail right, making complex characters. for doing all those really brilliant things, he's also just having a fucking good time by making her wrestle the gators. Is just it's the funniest universe building, and it's so in character and in world that it makes sense. She's really is this vagabond of a character. At the end, she's kind of in the woods, living in this cabin, just wandering, lost. And for her to lose her job at CIA and automatically we just cut to a scene of her wrestling gators is just freaking hysterical. I just think that's perfect. I think it's such a move, and it just worked. It was brilliant.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one. You could just, like you said, you could just tell that he was having fun writing that, you know?
Yeah.
Because you could have had her go do it, anything else.
Exactly.
Literally anything else. But
that's where we find her.
Where you picked to have her wrestling gators.
Yeah.
And
coming off of Moscow X, I don't want to rag on it. I don't remember it seeming like McCloskey was having as much fun writing it. It almost came off the pages like almost a chore to kind of get done. And we've talked about second book syndrome on this pod a lot. I don't want to color your take on it or anything. It just felt like, this didn't seem to have the magic of a Damascus Station. Then when I picked up this book, I was like, oh no, does this not have that edge? And then boom, once you get a few chapters in, it has that, and you just realize he's firing on all cylinders, and he's got the goods. For me, I'm just saying it was really great that this book came back from what I would call a dip.
All right, so my free space, this is a tough one. I think I got to go Proctor.
Sure.
I never thought I was going to say this, but she's one of my favorite literary characters I think I've ever read. So much so that I immediately picked up Moscow X and started reading it because I wanted to know more about it. Because I knew you had told me that she was in the second one, in that one. I hope we don't see her. I hope we see her again. I hope this is not our last adventure with her. But if it is, I'm happy with this conclusion.
It is a fitting ending for her. It really is.
Super intriguing to see what David will do next.
Sure.
Super intrigued.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great free space. It really is.
I thought that's who you're going to say.
I thought that was the low-hanging fruit. That was the easy one, and I wanted to spice it up a little bit.
Could have just been Banditos. I like that little deep cut, bringing them back.
Banditos were great.
Station.
It really was great. I agree. It's just something about when they cut the game, and that's like right when I started really getting into the book and being intrigued was when she got fired.
Oh yeah.
When she got fired, that was a fun scene. Oh, we should have chocolate muffins for the pod, chocolate chip muffins.
Yeah, that whole backstory of like the Ipecac and
she poisoned Debs
that
first.
She plays on Debs. Yeah, good. He did the work to have us buy in. Buy in very much.
Yeah. That's another half a point on setting is going to the farm. Oh, and she steals the boat, dude. We didn't even talk about that. Dude, phenomenal.
We didn't even talk about the farm. And the scene where like they get caught like putting all the nudie pics in their professor's place.
Yes.
And then when she goes back to the farm, she actually finds one of those pictures.
Yep. And when she steals the boat, she cons the guy hanging out at the rec center, realizes where he lives, asks him if he has a boat, and then goes and jacks it. It's just, oh my God, it's so Proctor. It's phenomenal. Does that little sequence bump you up anywhere? Make up half a point anywhere for you? I'm curious. Kind of toying with the idea because I forgot about that little sequence going back to the farm.
Well, I should say my score is higher than you. I'm 46.5.
Yeah,
You're a 46.
I'm wondering. I think action and suspense I might bump to that 8.5. When he's stealing the documents, when she's taken to the farm and she's under watch, and when she's like trying to tell the guard like, hey, I'm leaving now. The guard's like, no, you're not. I was like, oh shit, what's she gonna do? And then, oh my God. Yeah, 8 was a little low on that. Can you give me back that half?
That was too low for you, Mike.
That was too low, especially the France scene. The France scene really was the pinnacle of action and suspense in one. Yeah, 8.5. Okay, brings us to a 46.5 total for each of us.
Consensus, baby. Very good book.
What a
Very
book.
good score.
It beat that 45 mark. I feel like once books go above 45 out of 50 for us,
That's a big
they're
one.
top tier. Yeah, they're top tier.
Yep, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, that was the seventh floor. Next time on this feed, I'm not sure what we're covering. We are going to be wrapping up on our other feed, the Brad Thor Podcast, the Scot Harvath Podcast, sorry. The last two books we have in that series.
2 books to go. Yeah.
Near Dark and Black
Ice. Yeah. So that will probably take us through mid-March. So you might not hear from us on the Thriller Podcast, sometime later in March. Yeah. Also in March are a couple of new releases. We might take a look at Dark Intercept. We might want to read to get ready for
I haven't read
Dark
any of those,
Rising.
so
yeah, there's 4, and the new one is coming out in April. So the Andrews and Wilson series, the Shepherd series, there's 4 books. The 4th one is coming out this year. We might want to get into that. Ryan Steck is taking over Ted Bell's works. He's writing Monarch. That one comes out in
that
March.
Monarch. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, Monarch by Ryan Steck, and it's supposed to be great from all the reviews I'm seeing there. And then one I've seen so much talk about it, and I listened to her on Rogan, Annie Jacobson's Nuclear War. I thought if we just had some free time.
I want to read that because another, no, I don't listen to Joe Rogan, but another one of my podcasts mentioned Nuclear War. Really want to read that one.
It's
so that's a nonfiction.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like a...
But I hear it reads like, not like a...
Yeah, it's like a doomsday scenario of what would happen. How would we get to and what would happen with the fallout of a nuclear war? And apparently Annie Jacobson...
I guess like Beirut...
like Beirut Rules.
Beirut Rules, but also the one we just read from Jack Carr.
Targeted Beirut. Yeah. Another nonfiction. Yeah. Yeah, so I've wanted to squeeze Nuclear War in there, and I think might find some time in the spring.
Yeah. We had a jam-packed schedule, my dude.
We do.
Got some golfing coming up in April.
Yes, sir. We're getting the boys together. Yes, that'll be great. That'll be a good one. Every spring, every April. Little birthday golf trip.
Always. So we have 3 of our 4 birthdays are in April, so got to get together. All right. Well, we need to thank our patrons, get you guys out of here on this Friday night or whenever you're listening to it, including our Deputy Director, Sherry F., our Special Operator, Jason C., our Special Agents, Ben, Daryl, Kevin, George, Matt, Dawn, Peggy, Chris, and Mark. Please subscribe, rate, and review to all 3 seasons of No Limits. You can find us at thrillerpod.com or on Twitter and Instagram, X, whatever you want to call it, at Thriller Podcast. And as always, just like Proctor, be Proctor.